Reading from Śrī Bhagavat Sandarbha, Anucheda number 2. Distinction between Brahman and Bhagavān. So in the previous Anucheda, Śrī Jīva Goswami said that reality as described in Bhagavatam is known by three names, Brahman, Paramātmā and Bhagavān. So now he elaborates on Brahman and Bhagavān. That is the subject matter of this book. And the next is Paramātmā Sandarbha. So usually in India, Hindus, they think Bhagavan, Paramātmā as synonymous and Brahman. So they are all used interchangeably. So you will see often people saying Paramātmā or Bhagavan for Krishna. Krishna Paramātmā, Krishna Bhagavan, or for whatever is their Ishta Devata. So Paramātmā, Bhagavan are used as synonyms. And in the scriptures also you will see many times the words are used like that. But Jiva Goswami brings a distinction between them, and I don't know if anyone else has ever explained like this. The way he distinguishes Bhagavan, Paramātmā and Brahman. Of course, Sridhar Swami also mentions in his commentary, but to this detail, this is unique contribution. And it is based on Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam itself says that there are three names given to the Tattva. Vadanti tat tattvidas tattvam is jnanam advayam. And if the three names are given, then there must be some distinction between them, among them. It's not that they have just been chosen. So therefore he elaborates on them. So he says, Atha Srimad Bhagavat Akhyeva Shastre Kvachid Anyatrapi Tadekam Tattvam Tridha Shabdate Kvachit Brahmeti Kvachit Paramatmeti Kvachit Bhagavaneti. So he says that in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, this Tattva is known by three words. Shabdate means that there are three different words which are used for it. So sometimes it is called Brahma, sometimes it is called Paramātmā, and sometimes Bhagavan. So why it is given three different names if it is only one thing? And sometimes if you give three different names, still it is the same object. It's like water in Sanskrit has got many names. Call it Jivanam, you call it Jalam. So Meghasaram, Ambudam. So various names are there, Vari. But they all need water. They all mean water. So what is it that these three words are used for the Tattva and they all mean same, or there is some difference? So even if you see these different words used by the same object, say for water, then there is actually some difference in the meaning of the words. Although they all refer to the same object, but still there is some difference. So similarly, when Brahman, Bhagavan, Paramātmā and Bhagavān, these three words are used, although they are being used for the same object, but there is distinction. And the distinction here is not just the way these words are used, but actually the same object, when signified by these three words, it refers to some specific aspect of that object. It is not just the complete object. When we say Vari, we say Jalam, we say Jivanam, so Ambu, So we refer to water as water only, not some specific part of water. We may be talking about some characteristic of water. Jivanam means that which gives life. So, but it's not referring to just part of it. But here it is different. And the difference is that because this refers to the absolute reality, the same absolute reality can manifest in different ways. Although it is still the same object, but it can manifest differently to different worshippers. And that is what Jiva Goswami explains here. So when he says that sometimes it is called Brahman, sometimes Paramātmā, and sometimes Bhagavān, so it is according to the Upasaka, Bheda, the difference in the worshipper. So Kintu atra Srimad Vyasa Samadhi Labdhat Bheda Jiva iti noktam iti gayam. So he says that we should know that although it is called Brahman, Paramātmā and Bhagavān, it is never called Jiva. So that is important thing. It is not said that Jiveti, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavāniti Shabdati. It is only said Brahman, Paramātmā and Bhagavān, but not Jiva. So this is important point to be noted, because Advaitavadis, the followers of Sankaracharya, they consider Jiva also as the absolute. Jiva Brahmaiva Naparaha. Jiva is also Brahman and not something else. So here in our Vaishnava theology, that is not the case. In our Vaishnava theology, Jiva is not Brahman, Paramātmā or Bhagavān. It is never. So that distinction should also be noted. And when Vyasa sat in his samadhi, Samyak pranihite male apashyat purusham purnam mayam chaitadapashrayam. So he saw the Purna Purusha, Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranihite Male, that he sat in samadhi of Bhakti Yoga and he saw the Purna Purusha and also saw Maya who had taken shelter of him. And then he saw also Jiva who was under the influence of that Maya. So, and because of that influence of Maya, the Jiva considers himself as Trigunatmaka, Atmanam Trigunatmakam, Manute Paropi. Although it is Para, it is transcendental, but it considers because of identification with the body. So there, Jiva was not seen as the absolute reality. The distinction was seen in the Vyasa Samadhi. And Vyasa's Samadhi is the foundation, the basis for Bhagavatam. Because after seeing the reality in Samadhi, then he manifested the Bhagavatam. So Paropi Manute Anartham, that Tatkritam cha Vipadyate, that although it is Para, but it considers Atmanam Trigunatmakam. So that is the distinction between the Tattva and the Jiva. So that he therefore makes this as very clear that Vyas Samadhi Labdhat Bheda Jiva iti noktam. It was never stated as Jiva. Tatra Brahma Bhagavator Vyakhyatayo Paramatma Swayameva Vyakhyato Bhavati iti Prathamata Taveva Prastuyati. So he says that Paramatma is naturally explained if Brahman and Bhagavān are explained. So therefore, first he begins to explain them. And that is the subject of this book, Brahman and Bhagavān. And Paramatma, यार इनको बोल बंद करने के साले फालतू में बकवास करना है. सुबह से यहीं घूम रहे हैं. There is no other place for them. Yeah, they came here 8 o'clock. So why Paramātmā becomes naturally explained when Brahman and Bhagavān? Because really speaking, the reality is only Bhagavān, and Brahman is qualityless experience of that. So Paramātmā is not some independent thing, but Bhagavān who manifests to take care of the material nature. That is Paramātmā. But Brahman has to be understood, because Paramātmā and Bhagavān, they have similarity, but Brahman is different. So therefore he says that once this is understood, Brahman and Bhagavān, it's like you understand an object with quality and without quality. So Savikalpak and Nirvikalpak Gyan. In Nyaya we studied that there is, whenever you see an object, first there is Nirvikalpak Gyan, and then there is a Savikalpak Gyan of the same object. So first there is indeterminate knowledge, and then there is determinate knowledge. So similarly, Brahman is the indeterminate knowledge of Bhagavān, and Bhagavān is the determinate knowledge. Or if you say Tattva, then Tattva, whatever is the Tattva, the indeterminate knowledge of Tattva is called Brahman, and determinate knowledge is called Bhagavān. So therefore he begins to define now what is Brahman. So one thing we have to understand, that here in the opinion of Bhagavatam, and of course Jiva Goswami explaining on the basis of that it is not that Brahman is something which does not exist, or Brahman is false, or because many times commentators tend to explain Brahman only as Bhagavān. So he says that Brahman is also there, and the verses which are talking about Brahman can be taken to mean Brahman only. It is not always that you have to explain Brahman as Bhagavān. Sometimes the word Brahman may be used for Bhagavān, but most of the time it is not necessary. So for that reason he explains what is actually Brahman. And this definition which he gives is also quite unique, because generally speaking you will not find definition of Brahman. So Muletu Kramad Vaishishtya Dotanaya Tatha Vinyasa. So in the original verse of Bhagavatam, there is an order: Brahmeti, Paramātmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabdate. So this verse is important, and it will be good that you memorize this verse, because this verse he will refer to again and again, even in Tattva Sandarbha and Krishna Sandarbha, all the way. So Vadanti Tattvavidas Tattvam Yajnanam Advayam Brahmeti Paramātmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdate. So he says in this original verse there is an order, that first Brahman is mentioned, then Paramātmā is mentioned, then Bhagavan is mentioned. And this order has a significance. And the significance is that it is in the increasing order of importance or greatness. Means Paramātmā is superior to Brahman and Bhagavan is superior to Paramātmā. Although it is the same Tattva, it is only one Tattva, but that one Tattva manifests in 3 ways, and these 3 manifestations are not equal. The manifestation of Brahman is the most inferior manifestation, and then superior to that is the Paramātmā manifestation, and then Bhagavan is the highest manifestation. So that is the significance of the order, that why Brahman, Paramātmā and Bhagavān has been said. So therefore he first describes what is Brahman. Tad ekameva akhanda ananda swarupam tattvam thutakrit parameshtyadik ananda samudayanam paramhansanam sadhanavashat tadatmyam apanne satyamapi tadiya swarup shakti vaichitriyam tadgrahana asamarthye chetsi yatha samanyato lakshitam tathaiva spuradva tadvadeva avivikta shakti shaktimatta bhedataya pratipadyamaneva brahma iti shabdate. So this one absolute reality which is indivisible and blissful in nature, so that is the Akhanda Tattva, Ananda, is known as Brahman to those transcendentalists who have lost all taste for material happiness. So Brahman is realized by those who are on the path of Jnana Marga, and Jnana is primarily based on Vairagya. So therefore he says that Thutkrita. Thutkrit means, Thutkar means spitting. Thu in Sanskrit as well as in Hindi is for spitting, because when you spit you make the sound thu. So Thutkar, Kara means, you know the word Kara means to do, so means to do thuth, means to spit. So Thutkar means spitting. Thutkrita means that you have done thuth to it, means you have spat on it. And what is it? Parameshtyadik ananda samudayanam. That there are various types of anandas, material anandas, martyananda. It is described in Taittiriya Upanishad, right? There is Anandavalli. So there it is described that if you are healthy, young, you control the whole planet Earth, means all the facilities available to you. So the amount of happiness which you derive, that is 1 unit of Ananda. And then you go above that there are Upadevas, they 100 times, then above that Gandharvas and all these Yaksha, Rakshasa, and then Pitri Devas. So you go on, then you go to heaven, and then the king of heaven. Then finally comes Brahma, Parameshti. So every pleasure is 100 times more than the previous one. So Parameshti, the abode of Brahma, that is the highest pleasure, materially. So when he says Thutkrita, Parameshthadik Ananda Samudaya, means that a person has Vairagya. Like sometimes when you don't like something, you have complete distaste for it, so you say, I spit on it. And sometimes people actually spit physically. So that is the meaning of Thutkrita Parameshtadika, means that person who has absolutely zero interest in any material pleasure up to the pleasure of being Brahma. So then such Paramhansas, so Paramhansa, Hansa you know, is a swan, and swan has this characteristic of making water and milk separate. So means this Paramhansa can separate between material pleasure and non-material pleasure. So that is the significance of Thutkrit Parameshthadik Ananda Samudayanam. that he has understood that this is all nonsense. And then he performs sadhana. So sadhana vashat tadatmyapanne satyam. And what is the sadhana? Identifying with the reality. That you identify that aham brahmasmi. So who have lost all taste for material happiness, even that available to Sri Brahma, and who by ardent practice have realized their identity with this reality. So tattvamasi, you are that aham brahmasmi, I am Brahman. So this is their sadhana. And but whose hearts are unable to perceive the variegatedness displayed by its internal potencies. So obviously such people, they don't see the variety. Tadiya swarup shakti vachitrayam tad grahan asamarthye. So such people do not have the power to experience the variety, the variegatedness of Bhagavan. Because that is possible only by Antaranga Shakti, Bhakti Shakti, that they don't have. So because they are not qualified, because for everything some qualification is needed. It's like to see the universal form. Krishna says that you cannot see me with these eyes. So dadami divyam chakshatam, that I will give you divya chakshu, by which you will see my universal form. So just as to see universal form, you need some special vision. Similarly, to see or to realize Brahman, you need some specific vision. To realize Bhagavan, you need some specific vision. And when you have one particular type of vision, then the other is not available to you. So when Arjuna is seeing 200 form of Krishna, he is not seeing his Virat Swarupa, his universal form. When he is seeing his Virat Swarupa, he is not seeing his 200 form. Right? That's why he is saying, please, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena, that please show me that 400 form. So those people who strive for Brahman realization, they do not have the ability to see Bhagavan who has variety. So that's why he's saying that tadgrahan asamarthye, they do not have the samarthya, the power, the capability. So then chetsi yatha samanyato lakshitam tathaiva spuradva. So then in the heart, they only see a general manifestation of the truth, not anything specific. So, but whose hearts are unable to perceive the variegatedness displayed by its internal potencies, they thus experience it in a non-specific way, just as they have sought it. So they are interested in Brahman, Nirguna, Nirakara. So then they only have experience of that. They don't experience Bhagavan. Because Krishna says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathai bhajami, I manifest myself in accordance with the conception, the mood of the worshipper. So that's why it manifests only that. So for which they have strived. So tathaiv spuradva tadvad eva avivikta shakti matta bhedataya pratipadyamanam va brahmeti shabdati. So vivikta means distinction, avivikta means non-distinction. So they do not see the distinction. They do not experience the distinction between the potent and the potency. They see both as one. So therefore, they realize the reality as Brahman. Because to know him as Bhagavan, then you have to make the distinction between the object and its qualities. So then it will become savishesha or savikalpaka knowledge, savikalpaka realization. So when we are seeing objects in our life, then we are actually seeing them with their qualities, form, shape, color, and if you touch, maybe soft, hard, hot, cold, and then bigger, small or medium size. So all this is seen. We don't see this just as an object without any qualities. We actually don't have any experience of anything. So all our experiences are savikalpaka. But according to Nyaya, savikalpaka is not possible without nirvikalpaka. This determinate knowledge is not possible without indeterminate. So of course that indeterminate is of the same object, and it happens in the first moment of our perception. But then our perception does not remain steady at that level, so we don't actually have experience of nirvikalpaka consciously. We are only inferring it, that it must have happened, because if I am having savikalpaka, then I must have nirvikalpaka before it. The example given is Dandi Purusha. So if you know some sannyasi as a sannyasi with a stick, so you can only have knowledge of sannyasi with a stick if you know what is a sannyasi and what is a stick. Right? If you don't know what is a stick, you cannot have experience of sannyasi with a stick. Because this knowledge that here is a sannyasi with a stick assumes that you have knowledge of sannyasi and the stick. So similarly, when you see a pot, a ghata, so ghata has ghatatva in it. It has the jati, right? So that ghatatva visishta ghata, that pot is along with potness. So if you don't have knowledge of potness, you cannot have knowledge of pot. So therefore, before you have knowledge that this is a pot, you must have knowledge of potness and pot without potness. And then you have knowledge of potness with pot, potness visishta, or pot qualified with potness. So there, of course, the object are not two separate things. It is only one pot. It is your understanding is at two levels, nirvikalpaka level and savikalpaka level. But nothing really happens to the object. It is not that there are two objects. One is a nirvikalpaka object, other is a savikalpaka object. And then your nirvikalpaka does not stay for very long. It changes very quickly to savikalpaka. But here one can remain at Brahman, experience of Brahman, and not move to Bhagavan. So Brahman actually is Bhagavan experienced without his Shaktis, qualities. That's what Brahman is. That's why he is explaining Brahman and Bhagavan. So Brahman and Bhagavan, they are not two different objects, but two different realizations of the same object. So this is what he calls as Brahman. That this experience of these Paramahansas, where they do not see the difference between Tadva Deva Avivakta Shakti Shakti Matta Vedataya, non-distinction. So in this manner, when the Absolute is defined without distinguishing between the conscious energetic source and its energies, it is called Brahman. So that is the definition of Brahman, that when the reality, the Tattva, is understood without distinction between the energies or potencies, and the one who possesses them, the source, that is called Brahman. So just as Nirvikalpaka, you really cannot say much about it. You can only say that there is something. Ime ghat ghatatva. So this ghatatvayo, so this ghata and ghatatva, they are also not experienced as, because when you say ghata, we usually think of ghata with ghatatva. But when he's saying ime ghat ghatatva, so it means ghata is without ghatatva and ghatatva is without ghata. There is no correlation between them. So really speaking, you cannot call it as ghata, because ghata signifies ghatatva in it. So similarly, to have experience of Bhagavan without his qualities, form, characteristic, any energies, and that is called Brahman. And because Bhagavan is all pervading, then Brahman is all pervading. Bhagavan is one, Brahman is one. So this is the definition of Brahman which he gives. So is it clear what is Brahman? Yes? Yes.
Did I understand properly that something that samadhi, the state of samadhi is within three gunas, or is it beyond three gunas?
Well, it depends. There are samadhis which are within three gunas, and there are samadhis which are within three gunas.
Okay, because I wanted to understand that, to understand how did Vyasa see it was his samadhi was beyond three
Yes.
gunas to be able to.
His samadhi was beyond three gunas. That's why he was able to see Krishna.
Oh, thank you.
So there are various types of samadhis. Samadhi is also savikalpak samadhi, nirvikalpak samadhi. Samadhi in which there is no distinction between the seer and the seen, and the knowledge of seer and seen. And there are samadhis where there is a distinction. So here, when they go into samadhi, then there will be no distinction between the seer and the seen. It's complete identification. So when all the chitta vritti are stopped, and if one has performed bhakti, then the power of bhakti, then the chitta vritti becomes brahmakar. So then the Brahman only manifests. But because Brahman does not have any form or quality, there is nothing you can say about it. Usually whenever we are having vritti in our mind, it is of some characteristic or some form or some object. So therefore we can say something about it. But about Brahman you cannot say anything. So it's like when you go in deep sleep, and if someone says, "What did you experience?" What can you say? When you are dreaming, you can talk about it, that I had this dream, that dream. But when you are in the dreamless sleep, and someone asks you to describe your sleep, what can you say? You can only say, "Well, I did not know anything, I slept." Positively, what can you say? So there is a complete identification between the Jiva and the Brahman, and therefore Jiva does not see itself as distinct from Brahman. because Brahman gets into the vritti and he has practiced that I am Brahman, so he does not maintain his ego separately. So even this statement that I am Brahman cannot be made really, because if there is only Brahman, then I does not have any meaning. I signifies that there is something non-I, right? Because I means something which is different from everything else around it. That's what I means. But if there is nothing else except Brahman, then I has no meaning. So even the statement I am Brahman is spoken with a little bit of license to teach us, but you cannot say it. So therefore, yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa, that the speech returns from there along with the mind, because it cannot say anything. So that's why this is called nirvikalpaka jnana, indeterminate knowledge.
So here, Jiva's definition of Brahman is very different from Advaita definition. So in that sense, he's unique.
Yes. So that's why I'm saying that the definition which he is giving is not the same as Advaitavad is saying, because for Advaitavad, Brahman is the ultimate reality and Bhagavan is inferior to that. And only Brahman exists, everything else is just false. Mithya, really not false, but an illusion. Mithya means illusory, which they say that it is neither real nor not real. It is not real because it doesn't sustain itself. Once you realize Brahman, it is not unreal because you experience it. Something unreal you cannot experience. Okay, yes.
You mentioned Brahman and Bhagavan both are all pervading. How can Bhagavan can be all pervading with his features and form, everything?
That is his Achintya Shakti. That is his inconceivable power. That he has a form and he pervades. That's what I gave the example, that this is what he showed when Mother Yashoda was trying to bind him. So she was not able to bind. Why? If he was just limited, she should be able to bind. With so many ropes joined together, why she was not able to bind? But because he is all-pervading, and he manifested that all-pervading feature within the limited body, or some seemingly limited body, he manifested the feature of being unlimited. Now that's inconceivable. How is that possible, that you are seeing him as a limited person standing in front of your eyes and yet he is unlimited? So this cannot be shown through logic or anything, but it happened. Logic is not everything. If there is something which is real and defies logic, you are not going to say, well, this thing is not real because it's against logic. You have to drop your logic and accept the truth. Truth is superior to logic. Okay? So this is the definition of Brahman which he has given. Now it says, Attadekam tattvam swarup bhutaya eva shaktya kamapi vishesham dhartri Parasamāpi Shaktinām Mūlāśraya Rūpam Tadanubhavananda Sandoha Antarbhavita Tadrish Brahmanandanam Bhagavat Paramahansanam Tatha Anubhavega Sadhaktam Matiya Matadiya Atadiya Swarupa Ananda Shakti Visheshatmak Prabhriti Visheshatmak Bhakti Bhaviteshu Antarbahirapi Indriyeshu Parispuradva Tadvadevi Vikta Tadrish Shakti Shakti Matta Bhedena Pratipadyamanam Se Bhagavan iti Shabdate. So he has given now the definition of what is Bhagavan. So again he defines it on the basis of experience. So he says, translation below, that very same absolute reality is named Bhagavan when as the reservoir of all other transcendental energies, it manifests unique characteristics by the power of its internal potency and becomes revealed to the senses both internal and external of the devotional transcendentalists. So Bhagavan, he is realized by devotional transcendentalist, Bhagavat Paramahansas. There are two types of Paramahansas, Advaitvad Paramahansas and Bhagavat Paramahansas, the devotee Paramahansas. So Advaitvadi Paramahansas, they try to identify with Brahman, so they don't have experience of Bhagavan. And even if they have, they think that this Bhagavan is nothing but manifestation of Brahman. So they disregard him. And then there are the Bhagavat Paramahansas who see Bhagavan along with his potencies, his energies. They accept that he is replete with various powers and qualities. So they see this distinction, Sakti Sakti Mata Vivikta, distinction between it. Okay. So it manifests unique characteristic by the power of its internal potency. So those characteristics which are manifest in the absolute Tattva called Bhagavan, they are manifest by his internal potency. So therefore Krishna's potency, energies, his form, his body is not material as is understood by Advaitvadis. Advaitvadis, they think that Krishna is Bhagavan, that is fine, but he is actually in the Sattva Guna, material Sattva. He is a manifestation of Sattva Guna and therefore he has knowledge and power because it all comes from Sattva. So they do not accept him as Vishuddha Sattva, pure or transcendental Sattva, and his qualities therefore as non-material. They think of his body, his qualities, his activities are also material. Because for them anything spiritual has to be nothing but Brahman. See their understanding. But the devotees, they see that by his internal potency, he manifests characteristics, transcendental potencies, and these potencies are experienced by the bhakta internally and externally. So a devotee has experience of Bhagavan outside and also inside. The Brahman is not seen outside. They only experience Brahman within. There is no experience of Brahman outside through the senses. It's beyond sense perception. But here Bhagavan becomes available even to the material senses. So therefore he says both internal and external. For such devotees, the bliss of encountering the Absolute, replete with the innate attributes, subsumes the bliss of Brahman realization. So, Brahmananda, which is experienced by Advaitvadis, is also experienced by the devotee. But this experience is part of his experience of Bhagavan. So, experience of Bhagavan contains experience of Brahman. That means devotees also have experience of Brahman, not only non-devotees, not only Advaitvadis. But there is a difference between the experience of Advaitvadis and experience of devotees of Brahman, experience of Brahman. So the difference is that when a devotee is having experience of Brahman, he does not completely identify with it. In case of Advaitvadis, they completely identify with it. And therefore they think, I am Brahman. But here, for a devotee, because devotee never aspires for such identification. He does not want to lose his identity as a servant of Bhagavan. So even when he has experience of Brahman, it is with some sort of distinction with Brahman. So he doesn't get lost in it. The other Jnanamargis, who are true Jnanamargis, follow the path, they actually get stuck there. But he does not, because he wants to be on the path of bhakti, or path of devotion, so he quickly comes out of it. The other people cannot come, because come where? Where to come? Because there is only Brahman. Their whole concept is that there is everything Brahman, so where will they come out? Once they get into Brahman, there is no way to come out. But when you are realizing Bhagavan, or you are after Bhagavan realization, even if you have Brahman experience, it is not going to completely swallow you, that you become just one with it.
Under which circumstances would a devotee have this realization? Probably he wouldn't aspire for it.
No, it's natural. That's why he says that it is included in that.
Mm-hmm. But it wouldn't, what would be the specific circumstances?
There's no circumstance.
It just happens like that.
Yeah, it has to. Just like if you go to the third floor, you have to go through the first floor. You're not interested in being on first floor. And it's not that on some particular circumstances you are going to have experience of first floor. When you're going to the third floor, you'll pass through it.
But every devotee has to experience that?
Yeah, because you have to go through that.
Even if he doesn't want it, he still...
It's not question of want it. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to stress, that when you have experience of a rose without its color and shape and form, and then when you have the full experience of the rose, that other experience is also there. You can't avoid it. Because when you say that this is a rose, it means that there is a rose qualified with roseness. But the indeterminate experience will be just of rose without roseness. So when you are having the experience of rose, then that other experience is also there in it. You cannot have this experience without that. That's the whole idea, that savikalpak is not possible without nirvikalpak. If you have determinate knowledge, you have to pass through indeterminate. So therefore devotee will naturally have knowledge of Brahman, but the distinction is that he does not get swallowed up. He is not completely merged into it.
So do Brahman Jnanis neglect the concept of Nirvikalpaka followed by...
Yeah, they are not interested in Savikalpaka. They think that Nirvikalpaka is the highest.
And to Nyaya, what do they say? Do they say, no, this is wrong anyway? They just ignore it? Okay.
Give that.
Babaji, since we are understanding now that naturally somebody who is trying to realize Bhagavan, naturally it will contain the realization of Brahman. But in qualities, as a person, how will behave somebody who is in the stage of Brahman, who has realized Brahman, and how will behave somebody who is realizing Brahman but is not interested because has something more that is bhakti? Like which qualities, how he behave, or,
Qualities, the one who experiences, one will be vairagi, he is not interested. That's what it says, thotkrit paramishtvan ananda, samudayanam, that he is not interested in anything material. He has no interest because he understands that there is no point in it. And the other one will see everything as manifestation of God's energy and see it that it is meant for his service. So that is the difference in their behavior. So one is based on vairagya and another is based on service. And the mood of devotee is to do service, mood of jnana is to renounce. So that's why the Kumaras are shown as naked. Why they are shown as naked? It's just to signify that they have no interest in anything.
apathetic.
Yes. They are just Brahmanistha and everything else, they are not interested in it. So therefore he says that the senses of such devotees are transmuted through devotion, which itself is a specific aspect of conscious bliss potency and the sole efficient cause making possible this realization. So therefore devotees' senses, they get empowered or transmuted by the devotional potency, which is part of Ladini Shakti. And by that Shakti, they are able to experience Bhagavan, because Bhagavan is seen only by the Antaranga Shakti. He is manifest only in the Antaranga Shakti. So this Antaranga Shakti becomes available to the devotee. Then the devotee has experience. So the other person does not have that. He does not have the potency of bhakti. He also will have experience of Brahman, will come with the help of bhakti only, not otherwise, but he doesn't have the potency of bhakti. He only uses it as a step, as a means, but not that he is interested in having it. Once it has done its job, then as they give the example, once you use the ladder to go to the roof, once you have gone to the roof, then ladder has no meaning for you, because you don't want to come down. If you have to come down, you will still need the ladder. But if you just want to go to the roof and be there, then ladder is not needed by you. So they utilize bhakti. So Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati samaya sarveshu bhutesu mad bhakti labde param. Right? And then what is that? Viste param. What is the next verse? Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyascha tattvata tato mam tattvato gyatva visate tad anantaram. So they visate means that they enter into it. This is the process of Brahman realization. They have to get also bhakti, but then they leave bhakti and they enter into tato mam tattvato gyatva visate tad anantaram. They enter into. And also it is important that they only enter into it, not that they become it. They don't become Brahman, they enter into it. But after entering, then there is no distinction remaining. Although this identity is not lost, but you are not making it distinct. It's like we have different identity from our body. We are not the body. But when we identify with it, we think that we don't have a separate existence than the body. So like that, Brahman and Jiva are always different. Even a person becomes Brahman realized, that Jiva is still different from Brahman, but it does not see itself as different. It sees itself as one with Brahman because he identifies with it. So that is the Brahman realization. Therefore there is no coming out of it. Just as when you identify with the body, there is no coming out of the body. You may change one to another because of the karma, and body is temporary. But Brahman is permanent. So at least body becomes useless, you have to give it up. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya. But Brahman does not become like that. Brahman remains Brahman, so you coolly stay there. So that is Sayujya Mukti. Okay? Yes, Manu. Can throw the mic.
I just was wondering if they need, or if they use bhakti, do they also need to be initiated by a guru? So they get it, and then they start?
No, they also have their guru of Gyan Marga. They don't have to have a Vaishnava guru. They have their path, so they follow also their guru.
So they will not be infused with bhakti energy. That means if I not need this infusion, I basically could do it by myself, except getting the knowledge.
Yeah, but you also have to have guru, that's what I'm saying. Knowledge from where?
Yeah, from the guru. But
Yeah. So therefore they have their path, that's what I'm saying. Just like on the path of Karma Marga you have guru, path of Yoga Marga you have guru. This is a new concept that you don't need guru and you can get knowledge.
do it yourself.
This is a modern thing. It's started only 20th century, not before that. Yes.
How can that bhakti be called bhakti when it has such a cheating propensity inbuilt in it?
No, because the bhakti is, there is a sakam bhakti and niskam bhakti. You know that there is a bhakti which is without any other motive, and then there is a bhakti which you perform with a motive. So that is that bhakti. It's like you can serve somebody because you want something from that person, and you serve because you love that person. You're not trying to get something. Same.
Then I would say that then one is not a bhakti.
Well, it is called bhakti only. I mean, what would you call it? That's why we give an adjective to it. We qualify it.
It's not really love.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's not really love, but it is some sort of love. So it is a motivated love. Yeah. So really speaking, you're right. Motivated love is not love. But what else to call it? So that's
That
why.
gives you access to Brahman.
Yes.
It's the only way.
Yeah. Yeah, because Brahman is non-different from Bhagavan, so you cannot get it from anywhere else, you have to get it from him. And to get from him, you have to do some bhakti. So just like Krishna says that there are 4 types of people who do bhakti to me. Then when they are in distress, when they want some money, they have some problem, they want knowledge. So they are all motivated. So he says they come to me with a motive, I fulfill their desire. So God gives them. But that's not pure bhakti. That's really not pure love. So that's why it is called conditional love. That I love you, but I have a condition. That if you do this for me, I will love you. If you don't do this, I will find someone else. conditional.